Let me share with you 3 of my best all-time driver videos. You know, driving doesn't have to be that complicated, especially when you get some of the secrets that I'm going to share with you here. Let's go and get started. Hey guys, welcome to beautiful Heathrow Country Club in Lake Mary, Florida, my home course. And we're going to talk about 3 tips that are really going to help you to hit your driver much better. Now, when you get up to those holes, they got a little bit of water on them. Maybe you get those par 5s like this. It's just so much more enjoyable to smoke a driver right down the middle of the fairway and not even have to worry about being in the rough or out of bounds or that kind of thing. So we're going to do 3 things that you absolutely must do to hit your best drives. Let's go and get started. All right, so the first piece I want to talk about is what I call snap, don't slap. So nobody wants to slap at the ball. We don't want to lose that club head speed. And when we slap at the ball, basically what that means is I'm using my hands kind of back and forth this way. Oftentimes I'll cast a little bit and then the club head outraces my hands and I end up kind of slapping at the ball. The disadvantage of that is now my club face is very inconsistent. One time it's closed, one time it's open, and I'm also going to have a tough time getting speed from this. So let me go ahead and hit one. I'll talk a little bit about this slow motion video that's going to come up here in a second. So I'm going to try to slap at this ball, really cast it from the top. Yeah, and I hooked that ball 40 yards to the left, almost onto the road. Hopefully I didn't hit a car over there, but it's very difficult to be consistent when I'm doing that. There's no way I can hit a fairway when I'm swinging this way. What's happening is, if we look at our wrist and we kind of put them in front of us, if I bend my wrist to the right this way, this would be flexion with my left wrist. It's called extension with the right wrist. We don't need to know those terms. That would be to the right and then back to the left. A lot of times people think we need to get speed by doing this and by kind of pushing the club through to help to accelerate it. When I do that, that starts to flip the club, to slap the club, and it's going to outrace my hands. Anytime the club head gets in front of your hands before contact, you are dead in the water. It is going to be almost impossible to have control of that club face. When it outraces them, it becomes very, very unstable. That's a slap motion, and that's exactly what you're seeing here. Now, a snap motion is very different. I still want that club to release, so I want to have some lag. I want to get that club to whip on through. It's snapping. I'm getting that speed at the bottom, but it's when I'm doing that and how I'm doing that that's going to make a world of difference. So as I'm about halfway in my downswing, you'll notice that's what we call our maximum lag position. So in that max lag, now I've created this big angle with my hands and my arms. My body's going ahead and opening up, and as I continue down, now my club still has a pretty good size angle in it. If you look at the butt end of this club, if you imagine a laser beam kind of shooting out of there, it's not turned back up yet. My club isn't pointing back up toward my body. It's pointing out kind of down the fairway. Now from here, to get that club to really release, I want to snap the club head. That's when I'm going to start turning this club head back up, or this grip back up, to release the club head and to get a lot of speed from the club head there. So that's what we call the snap action. You can call it the release, you can call it whatever you want to. And the big key to really put this together that we talk about in the Top Speed Golf system is I want this to release about 45 degrees in front of me. So if I imagine a line going from my chest 45 degrees out in front, whenever that club gets fully released, now it's going to be pointing in that direction. So I'm still letting that club whip on through or snap through, but it's not a slap. I'm letting that happen in front of the golf ball, and now my club is just kind of trailing along behind. The golf ball is just getting in the way. I'm releasing out in front, and that impact is just happening. So let me go ahead and hit one here the correct way. We'll show you some in slow motion. I'll give you a couple tips on how to do this exactly. There we go, hit that one great, right down the middle of the fairway. I got that lag, and then I got that to release out in front. Now in the first one, we talked about how we didn't want to push with the hands or wrist, because now my club head outraces my hands and it gets really unstable. In this one, now I'm taking my hands here down at the ball. You'll notice my right wrist is angled back in what we call wrist extension, or my knuckles back to my elbow. I'm going to feel like my palm of my hand is still facing down to the ground. Now from here, I'm going to go ahead and feel like I do this motion. So if I'm casting a fishing pole, my thumb goes from up to really going down this way. That's what's called ulnar deviation, or just a casting or a flip type motion. I'm doing that way down here at the ball in that type of a direction. So my hand isn't going this way and cupping, it's going down, just like I'm doing this with a fishing pole. And now as I do that in front of the golf ball, that's going to release that club. Notice how here, both my wrists are nice and straight. There's no bend in those at all. If I was flipping, that would look like this as I'm coming through impact. And my wrist would be cupped here and it would be bent forward like that with this other hand. That's gonna lead to a lot of inconsistency if you're doing that. So let's pause just before impact. We got a nice angle, this wrist is flat. At this point, my thumb is pulled back toward my body. I've got all this lag, and then we're gonna pause in the straight line release in the top speed golf system, and we're gonna work on this thumb being down. So I went from the up to down. That's that whip action that's happening through there. That's that snap. And when I do this correctly, I feel like I'm just gonna take the bottom 2 inches of this grip with my bottom 2 fingers. That's where I'm gonna feel the pressure there. And I'm just gonna snap the shaft, snap that grip right off the club. That's gonna help with a ton of speed. So let's go ahead and pause and do that about 15, 20 times. Pausing here, and then boom, releasing that, pausing here, wrist nice and flat, wrist turned down. After we've done that about 20 times, let's get that same feeling in more of a full swing, just a practice swing there. So we're not gonna hit any balls yet, we're just gonna get used to that feeling, and then we can go ahead and take it on out to the driving range and start hitting some shots and then out onto the course. All right, so that's piece number 1, snap, don't slap. Piece number 2, it's the same old saying we've heard for a long time, but with the new twist, we're gonna tee it high and let it fly. Now the reason you wanna tee this ball high is a couple of things. So first off, if I have a great drive, what's happening are 2 things. Number 1, I'm gonna hit this ball a little bit higher on the club face. Now as I start to hit it a little higher on the club face, there's actually more loft on the top of your driver. Your driver isn't flat like a sheet of metal, it's actually rounded. If you were to take this and bring this out into a full circle, it actually makes about a 3-foot circle is how the face is curved. So it has a slight curve to it, meaning at the bottom of the driver, you're gonna have a lot less loft. This is an 8.5 degree driver. At the bottom, there's probably 5 or 6 degrees, 4 degrees, something like that. At the top, there's probably 12 or 13 degrees. So if I hit it at the top of the face, it's gonna launch higher. That's great for distance. That's what we really want. The second piece is, as I make contact higher, it actually has a gear effect and the ball is stuck to the face and actually puts a little top spin, not really top spin, just less backspin, and it gets the ball to knuckle through the air. That's a real key for high, long drives. The higher I can hit it, hitting it on the top of the face, and the less spin I can have, also hitting on the top of the face, means the longer drives that I'm gonna have. That's the first piece. The second piece to this is I actually wanna be swinging up on the ball. Again, if I'm coming down on it, I'm kind of swiping across the ball, and now I'm getting all this backspin. The ball wants to shoot up, kind of float in the air, and then fall out of the sky. You don't get any kind of good distance. But if I can set this ball up where I'm actually swinging up on it, now again, it's going to promote that higher launch, and it's going to promote that lower spin. So the more I can hit up on this golf ball, the better I'm going to be for creating as much distance as I can. Well, if I have the ball low on the ground, let's imagine this ball is barely teed up on the ground, just like this, it's teed up on the turf. If I swing up, if I try to hit up on this, now I'm gonna miss over top of the ball. No way to make it happen. Plus there's no way to hit it anywhere but the bottom of the face. So I want this ball teed up nice and high so that I can hit it on an ascending angle, on an upward angle, and still make contact with the top of the face. Now with your iron shots, it's gonna be on the ground. We're gonna have to hit down on it. If we had the luxury of teeing up iron shots, we'd do the same thing, but we don't. We have to hit it off the ground. That's why you hit down and take a divot with your irons. That's the easiest way to hit it off the ground, and that's why this is different with the driver. So a couple things that we want to note here, and I'll show you some slow motion video with this also. I'm going to play this up in my stance slightly. I got the ball teed up. For me, I like to have it at least a half a ball above the club or a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and tee this on about 3/4 of the golf ball sticking up above the crown. I'm gonna have that a little bit up in my stance. If I really wanna get a hold of one, get some extra distance, I'm gonna play it up here toward my front foot. Again, that's gonna help promote me hitting it on the upswing. And then number 3, I'm gonna visualize in my mind that I'm gonna go ahead and knock it off the top of the face. I don't wanna get anywhere near the bottom of the face or it's gonna kill my distance. So I put the ball up in my stance, I've got it teed up nice and high, and now I'm gonna feel like I'm swinging up on the ball and de-lofting the face so that I still get that high knuckler, almost a little bit of top spin on the ball is the way that you wanna think about this. So if I do those things, man, that's really gonna help me to increase my distance. That one felt great. Big high ball, knuckled through the wind, really nice shot. Now I saved the best for last. I know a lot of you guys out there are having those balls that slice. If you get into any kind of wind or you struggle at all with distance, that slice is absolutely just gonna eat up your distance really, really badly. So if I want to hit it farther, I've got to hit a little bit of a draw or at least dead straight shot if I want to get the maximum distance on there. That's going to get the least amount of spin. That's going to help the ball to really launch pretty fast. So when I'm setting up to this golf ball, a lot of times what I have people visualize is that they're coming through and the face is really square. And they imagine they're just going to kind of pull this club through square and the ball's going to go right down the middle of the fairway. And when they have that visualization in their mind, because they struggle a little bit with the slice, the ball just tails off to the right and tends to slice. If you feel like you're going to hit it square and 90% of the time it's either fading or slicing, this is really going to help you. So I want to imagine the club face, imagine that piece of metal is going to wrap around the outside of the ball. So if I'm looking at this golf ball from my perspective and I kind of put a line through the middle of the ball, that would be dead square. If I hit right on that line, that would be a square shot. Now when we do that, like we just talked about, we tend to slice. That means my club was actually a little bit on the inside of that line. What I want you to feel like you're doing is to get that club to wrap around to the outside of the golf ball and hit on the outside of that line. Now what that's doing is that's closing the face a little bit more. And when you first do this, you're going to start to hit some shots to the left. That's okay, that just means you're doing a little bit too much, but that ball is going to start left and it's going to hook even a little bit more to the left, especially for you guys that are coming over the top. Now I'm getting to the outside of that ball and it's starting left, going even farther left. That's all right. Let's start out on the range doing this, and I want you to hit those shots that do go to the left, and then gradually we're going to start to come a little bit more from the inside. I'm going to feel like if I'm at home plate and the second base and the baseball field is directly in front of me, I'm swinging more out toward first base or the visitor's dugout. And now I'm going to be releasing that club, getting it to outside the ball. So what's going to happen is my ball's going to start a little bit straighter and then it's going to draw. After you've gotten a few of these in where that ball actually starts to turn on over a decent amount, let's just tone that down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and hit one and really exaggerate though. I'm coming inside and out and I'm letting that face turn over. Now as I'm doing this, the feeling that I'm getting in my hands, if you go ahead and set this club up here, is that I'm taking this club and I'm twisting it just like I'm turning a clock. Like if you can imagine the butt end of the club is a clock face and I'm going to turn that, that's rolling the club. You'll notice when I do that, my left wrist bows. That's what everybody wants at impact. That really helps. That's what the pros are doing. And my right wrist kind of turns knuckles back this way. That's what's going to release that face as I'm doing that. So we can see that would really get that face to turn on over. I'm going to exaggerate here. Hopefully we can see this on camera, but I'm really going to get this one to swing from right to left. There we go. So we saw that one started down the middle of the fairway, hooked over to the left, almost by the trees. I'm right on track. That's what I want to have happen at first if I'm struggling with that slice. Now the second piece to this, after you've hit about 15 or 20 balls doing that, and you've got the feel for that, I'm just going to tone down a little bit. Don't let that club release quite as much to the outside of the ball, and don't swing quite as far to the right. And now you're going to have that little baby draw that everybody wants to have to get the maximum distance. All right, guys. So take those 3 tips. Number 1, snap, don't slap. Number 2, tee it high. Get that ball to launch high with low spin. And number 3, get that club head to the outside of the ball to get that nice draw. All right, hit that one pretty daggone good. And if you want to be a consistent driver, it really comes down to a few key things that you need to be able to do with your body to promote consistency. It starts with the setup, give you some real easy things, and then some ways to stay in your posture and to swing on plane. And these drills are very easy. Grab a club right now and walk right through these drills with me. So first, let's get the stance right. I want my stance, my ball position to be anywhere from just inside my left foot to kind of on my left toe. It really depends on how wide your stance is, but I like anywhere kind of in this inside of the left foot area. That's going to give me the ability to hit slightly up on the ball and to go ahead and release the club as I'm coming on through. If I put the ball too far back in my stance, now I'm having to hit at it with my hands, and really my body's just too far in front. So long story short there, if you're going to be consistent, you need your body behind the golf ball. Now with that is going to be your spine tilt. So I want to go ahead and get my nose or my upper body farther behind the golf ball and my belt buckle kind of shifting a little bit to the left. So if I put a club here, I grab my belt buckle, put the bottom of the club on that, I put the top of the club on my nose, I'm going to shift until my nose is slightly behind my belt buckle, and my body's angled away. Now what this does, and why this is so important, is it allows you to swing from the inside much more easily. So to get that inside out swing path, it allows you to get kind of shallowed out more inside, and then to be able to release inside out to get that nice little draw. It also is just the natural way your body is going to want to hit it if I'm going to have lag and then release that club in front. It's almost impossible to have lag if your upper body shifts in front of the golf ball. There's just no way to make your arms do that position. If I'm behind the golf ball, all of a sudden, I can get a lot of lag. So ball on the front foot, nose behind the belt buckle, and then number 3, make sure that your grip isn't too weak. So what I want to see is, if I have my hands flat like this, I want to see my left hand more on top of the grip, kind of at a 30-degree angle here or so. Like, so this is straight up and down. This is 90 degrees. We're just talking about 30 degrees to the right. I want to have my right hand tilted under the club the same direction. Again, that matches my tilt, so my hands are kind of going this way, and then when I grip the club, that's what it's going to look like. So V in the thumb toward the right shoulder, V in the right hand a little bit toward the right shoulder, even slightly outside of it, like you'd see with Dustin Johnson or Sergio Garcia or a lot of players. That helps to promote that draw too. Now let's get into the body work. Again, setup's great, but if your body's not working well, you're going to get armsy. It's going to go all over the place. So very simple drill here. Drop the club. Go ahead and set up what I call a helicopter drill and put your arms out to your side. Now from there, you're just going to rotate in the backswing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little weight shift to the right. My shoulders are going to be kind of on the inside of my right foot. So I don't want to be here like this. I'm going to be on the inside. So if I had a shirt tie, a tie, like a button-up shirt with a tie on, that tie would be hanging down kind of on the inside of my foot or my knee. I'm going to be in my posture with my shoulders tilted this way, and these fan blades will kind of ensure that. My left arm should be pointing somewhere out kind of toward the target line down here, and my right arm just kind of extends into my shoulders. Now as I come through, I'm just going to do the opposite. My weight shifts to the left. If you struggle with shifting your weight to the left, this is a game changer for you. My shoulders are kind of on the inside of my left foot, right hand toward the golf ball, left hand up here on plane. Now if I can do that, then I'm staying in my posture. All you need to do from there is to have the club face open and then to release the club face coming on through. So let's do the same thing with these fan blades, but then let your hands rotate to the right on the way back and then release it on the way through. So basically the hands should be doing this as you swing the golf club. That would look something like this, because the club face opens and closes as you hit it. And that's how you get feel for this. If you try to lock in things tight, restrict them, hold them straight, muscle it, all these things that we think are going to make it go straight. You try to do everything in the world to get the ball just please go in the fairway, and you just try to guide it, and all of a sudden you look up and it's shot off into the woods. You got to give up that control. You got to just let the body flow. You're an athlete. Be athletic and let the timing and the feel get you the straight shots. So once we've done that, let's do the same thing here, and we're just going to use a golf club now. So again, helicopter drill. This will get you more familiar with feeling like I am releasing that club head, so the club head is turning over as I'm hitting this shot. And again, I'm staying in my posture, so that's without getting both hands on it. This is like a good intermediate step to get the feel of what that should be like to stay in your posture and get your body working the right way. So weight shift to the right, arms on the target line, weight shift to the left, arms on the target line, and that's the basic golf swing. Once you've done that a little bit, go ahead and put 2 hands on it and just repeat that same feeling. So again, I'm not trying to guide it. I'm letting the club do the work itself. Now, all that is really good, but the last thing we have to do is get the visualization piece of it right. I want to visualize in my mind, like when I hit this golf ball, the ball is going to stick to the face. It doesn't actually happen that way, but this is the visual that I want to have. That ball is going to stick to the face, and I'm long through the hitting zone. So if I start to fold up and chicken wing, it's not going to work. If I move my body the way we've been moving it, and I'm long, so I'm letting my arms extend out through the shot, down the target line with the arms. The club face is traveling down the target line as long as possible, then that's going to help me to be much more consistent. If my club hits the ball and then immediately shoots back up over here, very inconsistent. My club face hits the ball and the club stays with it, and I really get a lot of extension through there with my arms, it's just a heck of a lot straighter. Now there is one other piece that we have to get right with this. You see a lot of times when players try to get that long extension through the shot, what will end up happening is they hold the face open. So this face stays open like this, and that's not what we want to have at all. You see, to get that extension, what you really need to do is to shallow out the club from the inside, get this face squaring up early. Now you're going to hit a nice little draw as you're coming through there, and the face is actually going to release and turn on over this way. All right, nice little draw down the right center. If you want to hit the driver straight, there's really just three things that you have to do. You got to swing the direction of the club straight, you got to deliver it with a nice square face, and you also have to hit it somewhere relatively in the center of the club head. You do those three things, you're going to be a great golfer. Well, the question is, well, Clay, I'd love to do that. If I could just do those three things, I probably wouldn't be here watching this video. I'd be out on the PGA Tour. Well, you'd be surprised if I can give you these special drills that I'm going to give you here, a couple real tricks. You'd be surprised how much headway you can make, how much straighter you can hit it in just one practice session. It's all about knowing what to do and how to read your ball flight, which I'm going to get into. So the first thing is the path. So if you're going to play a nice little draw like I did on that one, you're going to want to swing slightly to the right. And what that means is, as my club comes through contact, it's going to be coming from the inside, hitting the golf ball, and going to the outside this way. So from inside to out, if you're looking at it from this direction. If you're going to play a fade, your club's going to be coming out here, swinging slightly across the ball. Now, here's a technique thing that I see all the time where people get dead wrong. They think if I want to swing more inside out, hit more of a draw, which most players are working on, they think, well, if I'm going to swing more this direction, I'll just take the club back in my takeaway more that direction, and that will help. It actually hurts. What will happen is if you take it more inside, you're going to tend to come over the top. What you want to do is feel like you come a little bit more outside, have the club go up, and then it's easier to shallow it out and hit from the inside in the downswing. Now, that's a good tip, but you need feedback if you're really going to make some headway with this. Now, I like to use a little device called the Speed Trap from Eyeline Golf. They make some great products. I like this one because it's a plexiglass board. You can also put your golf ball in here, and it trains you to hit the ball first and then the ground. So get that divot in front of the golf ball. One of the best devices to give you feedback for that. But you can set this up to kind of guarantee that you're going to hit a draw. So I set this up here. I put a golf ball on it. And now if I was going to swing more over the top, I'm going to feel like I'm hitting these red things here, and it's going to be a mess. But you can see that there's a big gap to come more from the inside. And it really just makes it much, much easier to get a feel for what you need to do to swing from the inside. And again, it's all about coming through the ball that it matters. The takeaway doesn't make much difference on this. Let's go ahead and hit a nice little draw here again. There we go, and that ball started to the right, drew back to the left. I think that was a misread. Sometimes when I'm indoors here hitting driver, the ball is going so fast into the screen, it misreads it a little bit. Felt like a pretty good shot. Didn't seem like a big hook like that to me. Also hit it on the sweet spot, which we'll get here in a minute. Now, if you want one of these, I have a link down below in the description. I get a few bucks, helps to grow the channel and keep me making these videos. But if you don't want to buy one of these, that's totally fine. You can use something else. Just use a head cover or anything else that you can set up. Maybe you have a couple styrofoam cups laying around, or maybe the pro shop has some. But you can just set up those same kind of gates in this same fashion to where now it's making you swing inside out and giving you that visible feedback. And you'd be surprised how much that can shift the results that you get in a single time. Now, I like the Speed Trap because you can use it for a ton of things and you can throw it in your bag. It's just easier than having to get styrofoam cups or mess around with a bunch of stuff. But again, no worries. Whatever you can find that'll work will be completely fine. It'll get you results. Now, piece number two is I have to hit it relatively on the sweet spot. Now, I already know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Clay, if I could hit the sweet spot, again, I'd already just be doing it. But you'll actually be surprised when you use some foot spray powder. So this is Dr. Scholl's Odor X. This is a good one because it leaves a pretty white film, a pretty bright white film that you can actually see when you spray it on the club face. And as soon as I hit a golf ball, you'll be able to tell exactly where I hit it at. Now, what you're going to find is if you hit about 4 or 5 balls, everybody has a pattern. I hardly ever, I'll say I virtually, maybe a few times, unless you're a beginning player which if you're watching this video, you're probably not, probably an intermediate or advanced player. But I never find anybody that hits it low and then high and then off the toe and off the heel and just all over the face. You'll find some kind of a pattern. And once you know your pattern, you identify it, there's some really easy drills that you can do to fix that pattern. So you're trying to hit it toward the sweet spot or toward the center of the face. If you're going to hit a draw, a little bit more toward the toe helps, that helps it to draw. If you're playing a fade, a little more toward the heel helps, that helps it to fade. So let's go ahead and try to hit that draw again and see how I do as far as hitting on the sweet spot here. That felt pretty solid to me. Again, I don't know why it's reading it drawing that much. Felt like a pretty daggone good swing. And we'll see here when I look at the sweet spot, it's pretty much dead on the sweet spot, just a fraction toward the toe, which would be great for getting a nice little draw there. But if you find yourself hitting it toward the toe or hitting it toward the heel, again, you can use this speed trap or some head covers to adjust for that. So let's say that I'm hitting it too far off the toe and I want to get one off the heel. I put both these on the inside here now. And now when I set up to this golf ball, what's going to subconsciously happen is if I go more toward the toe of the club, so I pull the club in toward me, all of a sudden the shaft of my club is going to knock into these red things. Subconsciously, I'm going to realize I don't want to do that, and I'm naturally going to go more toward the heel. Same thing if I'm going too much toward the heel, I just flip them over on the other side, and now I'm subconsciously going to hit more toward the toe to miss those red things. And you'll be surprised, even players that struggle to break 100, you put a device down like this, and immediately they start giving some feedback. So if you get a low to mid handicap player, the feedback is going to be great with something like this. Again, if you don't have this, use a box. You can put anything like a box, a head cover, a styrofoam cup. Any of that's going to be completely fine. So find your pattern first. Once you identify toe or heel, then you can adjust by putting the barriers down. If you're hitting low on the face, the first thing that you want to do is tee the ball up higher. A lot of times, people are just teeing it up too daggone low and they can't get the ball to contact high enough on the face. If you are teeing it up higher and still having trouble with that, most likely what's happening is you're falling back a little bit and you're not being able to reach the ball, hitting it off the bottom of the face. Make sure that you get your weight to your front foot. Feel like your weight is on the left side and on your left foot as you make contact. And sure enough, most of the time, that's going to help a ton. You may even feel like you're hitting down on the ball a little bit to get it higher on the face. In reality, you're probably not actually hitting down on it. That's just a sensation that you're going to have. If you're hitting it too high on the face, either tee it a little bit lower, or you could be hitting down too much. Just go ahead and do the opposite of what I just recommended. Again, this isn't rocket science, but it works. You do this for a single session, you're going to hit the ball better, it's going to be straighter, you're going to really enjoy hitting your driver. Now lastly, we have to square up that face. So on here, on all three of those shots, my path was to the right. My face angle has to be to the left of that or pretty daggone straight to get that to draw. Now, most people are having a tough time getting the ball to draw like I've been doing here. And a lot of times I'll see players' grips are just wrong. So a lot of times players will set up with a grip that looks something like this. And I'll tell you, I feel like it's going to be pretty daggone tough for me to hit a draw from this position, specifically with the left hand. I want to feel like the left hand goes more on top of the grip, and that V in your fingers points more to your right shoulder if you're struggling to hit a draw. Now from there, once you get this hand in this nice position, similar to what Dustin Johnson or Sergio Garcia uses for their grip, now you're going to be much more likely to hit a draw. I'm also going to do the same thing with the right hand. I'm going to turn it a little bit more under the club, and that just makes it slightly easier. Now, the surefire way here is when I release it, I want to have this club face closing on down. So I don't want to have the face open like this. That's a big old slice, meaning that the face is pointing this way. I'm going to rotate the face until it's turning down. If you're wondering if you're doing it enough, if you're still hitting a fade or a straight shot, you need to do a little bit more. You can't overdo this. You'll be surprised how much a pro player's face turns down just after impact. Sometimes it looks even something like that, whereas I see a lot of recreational players with a club like this. So going ahead and releasing that club makes a world of difference. Now, there is one more piece that you have to get right. Now, most players have been told that they're going to square that face, and if you struggle with this drill, this is most likely what you're doing. You're told to roll the forearms over each other to square the face. Now, when that happens, you end up standing up out of your posture. You end up flipping the club. You end up doing all these things that we don't want to have. And it's not until you learn to release the club like the pros, which is what I call the anti-roll method, that you can finally get the ultimate consistency and get that club face to close and hit that nice power draw time after time after time. I'm going to play a preview of the anti-roll method video here in just 1 second. All you need to do is go ahead and click the card that pops up on your screen, or if you don't see one of those cards, don't worry, just go down to the description below, click the link there, and you can get instant access to the anti-roll video. I can't wait to share with you some of the secrets of this because I know it's going to help you a ton to play your best golf. Let's go ahead and get started. So here's the bottom line. If you've been taught to roll the club in the early downswing, that causes the shaft to get steep. And that steep club causes all your problems. It causes you to hit it way behind the big hitters and way inconsistent with your quality of strikes. So you're in the tall grass and the trees and the hazards all day long. Now the great news is this. There's really only 2 pieces that you need to know to fix all these problems. The first one is we need to learn the proper way to square up the club face. Instead of rolling the forearms and getting steep, there's another way that the pros do this. Once you learn this right way to square up the club face, then you can shallow out from the inside and everything starts to fit together. Now I'm going to teach you this right now in what I call the anti-roll method. You may also hear this called the motorcycle move or the tour twist, but let's walk through exactly how to do that. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and go kind of in the last parallel in the downswing. So here I want my hips to go ahead and be opening up. I want my club to be parallel with the ground, and I want my hands to be in front of my right thigh. Now, when I take my grip, you're going to notice that when I do this, the club face is basically straight up and down. So if I'm looking at it from this angle, you'll see the face is straight up and down, and my logo of my glove is pointed out in front of me. Now from there,